There once was a boy shaped like a boy, and he was called Overly Literal Boy. Overly Literal Boy hated himself because he was always just himself. To him, he could never be anything else. Some days he wished he could be made completely a felt, and others he wished his body were just a giant tuna melt, because at least then he could eat himself and be rid of all the negative shit that he felt. But each morning he saw the same thing in the kettle. Just a boy, in albeit slightly contorted proportions, a nose the size of a cormorant and a forehead the size of a porpoise, but just a boy nonetheless. All of that changed though the night he met her, the one who cut a figure of figurativeness. It was a Friday night, and Figment the Imagination Girl was stood alone at a bar, being generally inconceivable, in the sense that she had to be seen to be believed. And I mean literally. You see, she seemingly had no physical being, but her form was informed by what the observer's imagination could conceive of. It was a drag to her, because people would only see what was standing there because of what they saw in their head. But she never let it get her down, because deep down she was stronger than anyone had ever perceived her before. Well, that was until Overly Literal Boy walked through the door. He was the most humanly human she had ever seen throw such bang-average shapes upon a dance floor. And when Overly Literal Boy looked back at her, Figment of the Imagination Girl turned into an origami brain folded out of flat-pack furniture held together with girders. The two stood staring at one another, he on two shaking legs, and she on two 2002-foot toothpicks bound together to form legs. His breathing was shallow, and hers was a lemon-scented representation of non-Euclidean geometry narrated through a Teletubby's tummy. Bonset. She glided over to him, with feet now somehow made of clouds, and she asked him out in a voice somehow more semaphore than words. But Overly Literal Boy just naively replied, "What for?" Figment of the Imagination Girl sighed a sigh that was like the placebo effect that Calpol has on children under 6, and said, "We'll just meet Sunday at 4. And then she left the bar by turning herself into a helicopter made of balloons, popping herself with the bobby pin, leaving confetti and Birra Moretti all over the floor. Overly Literal Boy just thought, shit. He had no idea what he was in for, but he was excited for Sunday, that was for sure. On the day of their date, in a panic, Overly Literal Boy combed his hair as flat as a pancake, which caused him to think he smelled literally of 100 grams plain flour, 2 large eggs, 300 millilitres of milk, 1 tablespoon of sunflower oil, a pinch of salt, all whisked together into a smooth batter, set aside to rest for 30 minutes, then cooked in the pan till golden on each side, and topped with a slice of lemon. In short, he thought he smelled of pancakes and lemon. Figment's Imagination Girl, on the other hand, she didn't do much to her hair, as it had no physical form until perceived by an observer. All very technical stuff, and a bugger to get cut, because she needed 4th-dimensional scissors and stuff. With it? Keep going. Pardon me, fuck. 4th-dimensional scissors. At the restaurant, Figment of the Imagination Girl turned into a parking meter, and her hair became strawberry ice pops that began melting into the plates of lobster and greenie she'd ordered. So, Overly Literal Boy went to say, would you be more comfortable, away from the radiator? Before she could answer, the waiter slipped and tripped and broke his neck on a puddle of her melted strawberry ice pop locks. Overly Literal Boy said, I think the waiter's dead. In that over-literal way that he had. And then Figment of the Imagination Girl's majestic strawberry ice pop hair curled into the words, no shit, you soft cunt. Let's fucking leg it. So they ran away down the streets and took sanctuary down an alleyway. And under the moonlight, Figment of the Imagination Girl leant in close and whispered in her most sensual sounding voice, your hair smells of 100 grams plain flour, 2 large eggs, 2 milliliters, 1 tablespoon of sunflower oil, a pinch of salt, all whisked together into a smooth butter, set aside to rest for 30 minutes. Cooked on each side, then topped with a slice of lemon. And just like that, Overly Literal Boy's hair fell with a splat to the sidewalk as it had become a stack of lemon pancakes. Figment of the Imagination Girl looked down and said, is that some sort of medical condition? And he said, no, it's never happened to me before. Honestly. And they went their separate ways. They went out 2 more times after that. Firstly, they went to a magic show, but Overly Literal Boy was thrown out for explaining how all the tricks were done. And then they went to an aquarium, but Figment of the Imagination Girl had to leave as her hair became a plethora of krill. That's the rhyme I went with. The pair could never normally settle. He was always only easy about being so rigidly perceived. She was always peeved that she couldn't be seen except by how she was conceived of. But when they were together, she felt like she might finally be able to be herself, and he felt like he might finally be able to be made of felt. On their 3rd date, they entered the back of their place. Figment of the Imagination Girl's apartment was a Rubik's Cube balanced corner-wise atop the nose of a fox just outside the city centre next to a high-rise block of flats. They were sat on an etch-a-sketch-shaped leatherette couch, eating a pineapple pizza, watching a Netflix comedy special on the multi-dimensional television. Overlit Troy's hair hadn't grown back after the pancake fiasco, and Figment the Imagination Girl was a 3-tier Edwardian chess set with a Dell laptop playing solitaire for her head. Stop, Eve, you put me off.
I'm your biggest fan.
The fucking Dell laptop. Dell laptops. And then she leant across and pecked him on the cheek, then began running system updates on Windows XP. And then they closed their eyes and they necked for a bit, making them feel like they were just letters cast adrift amongst the cosmos. And when they opened their eyes, they realised it was because they'd become literally just letters stacked adrift amongst the cosmos. They scanned each other from top to bottom, and their physiology literally read head, shoulders, bodies, knees and toes. And scrawled spinewards with the bones of each other's contention, himself and herself. Overly Little Boy leant across and plucked the first 3 letters out of herself, so that Figment's Imagination Girl became simply a self. He wept soft, felt-feeling letters spelling T-E-A-R-S from his E-Y-E-S halfway up his B-A-L-D head as he went. And then Figment's Imagination Girl leant back across and plucked the him from himself, and she bent those letters wildly out of shape with her F-I-N-G-E-R-S. One of them smiled, an S-M-I-L-E typed in pearly Calibri teeth, and the other threw a reciprocal grin in Microsoft sans serif. They picked up the contorted him and hair they'd cast aside from off the floor, and they threw those haunted letters onto the fire, warming their now hardy tangential forms as they sat content for the first time in their life upon that brittle leatherette. Not himself and herself, not Figment's Imagination Girl and Overly Little Boy, just self and self. Thank you.
Woo!